It's Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, so you know what that means. It's time for another episode of Event Icons, presented by Endless Entertainment, the show where you get to ask the icons of the events industry anything. So, you might be wondering, how do you get to ask questions? All you have to do is use the question panel on the right of GoToWebinar to submit your questions. Or you can hop on Twitter to submit your questions with the hashtag EventIcons. We'll be answering your questions live during the entire show. Before we get started, the more people we have watching, the better conversation we can have. So please help share hashtag EventIcons on Twitter and Facebook. Just tell your friends to watch at www.event-icons.com. Now, without any further delay, this is hashtag EventIcons with your hosts, Will Curran of Endless Entertainment and Laura Lopez of Social Tables.
Oh, yeah. So, it's Will Curran in the house right now. Laura is out for this week. She's super busy over in the Social Tables offices, but I am just so excited to be here, and I actually am very honored to be the host of this week's episode because we have a true legend, a true icon of the events industry, Mr. Julius Solaris. Julius is the man behind Event Manager Blog, or EventMB, as they are now well known. Make sure that if you aren't subscribed, downloading every little piece of content they're coming out with, you need to head over there. They are doing it right. Every single blog post that comes out, every single piece of content comes out, I come and go, dang, that is awesome. They are just absolutely crushing it. They're covering everything from trends to things on the personal side, like productivity, like everything in between. So I got to give it up, and I got to welcome Mr. Julius Solaris in the house, the legend behind EventMB.
Thanks for having me. It's such an honor to have a whole show about Julius. I mean, that's
yeah, so we've had you on the show before. You've been on the IMEX episode. We had you on one about event engagement, I believe. But we said, you know what? We haven't given him his own episode so people can hear the story behind everything. So definitely excited to have you here. Again, as you were tuned in, if you have questions for Julius, be sure to go in the question pane, hop on Twitter, put those questions in because I know you got a ton of them for him. But I want to jump in because there's just a lot to learn for how much you've learned. And I think you were saying this is the 10th anniversary of EventMB.
Yeah,
so I know everyone wants to know, how did you get to this point where you've become so knowledgeable on events and become such an industry, media pioneer, basically? Talk a little bit about what got you into the events industry and what got you today.
Well, I mean, my passion for events, it's kind of, it's been there forever. I guess whenever I started to think about working, it was in events. So I was like probably 14 years old, and I was like planning parties with my friends and doing that sort of thing. And having fun and actually investing money and making some money. So I've always been more in the event marketing side rather than the planning side of things. I've been more involved in promoting events rather than organizing them as such. Although I've had my fair share through the years in terms of planning those as well. But the way I began was that, and it was I was very, very young, and then I studied a bit of communication media. And still, through my studies, that was the sort of direction I wanted to get, was events, like as part of the event marketing mix. I always had the sort of always been attracted by experiential marketing. Everybody talks about engagement and experiences, and probably experiential marketing is one of the most exciting parts of doing events, really, where you get to try things and really experience the buzz of having like a big project coming together, and sometimes bigger budgets than the meetings industry as such, I guess. And so that was my interest. The first gigs that I had were into the pharmaceutical environment, very brief, for like a year or so after graduation. And then we're talking about 10 years ago, well, before then, I did my MBA in Australia, so I went to study there in Sydney for a couple of years. And this was 2004, And so yeah, I had already a couple of years, in event marketing for pharma. I wanted to take my sort of next step in my career, and blogs were huge at the time. 2004, they were the Snapchat of today, I guess. Facebook wasn't even there, right? So it was quite exciting time for social media, and so I started the blog. I did my MBA and I studied online marketing and social media, and I said, okay, I want to start a blog. I want to make money blogging. There was this urban legend almost of make money blogging, right? And everybody was like trying to make money blogging, and probably only 3 or 4 people worldwide were at the time. Although it was much easier to get traffic and things like that. So we're talking about the era of copy blogger, pro blogger. If for those that are into social media, really the sort of when all of this was born as a mean to make business, I guess. And I had to pick a topic, and really, literally, the only topic I could talk about were events. And by that time, also, I was fascinated by the intersection of technology and social with events. Specifically, Twitter was there since like a year and a half. And I was like, okay, so I can actually go and search what people say publicly. If you think back then, that was mental, that was crazy. Like the ability to search what people think. And obviously the application of that at events was quite incredible and potentially disruptive for the industry. And so, yeah, I decided to kind of jump into it. I always invite, like, if you haven't read Event Manager blog, go back to page number 1 of the archive of the blog.
Oh, it's still up there, the first one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Since the very first post. It's all in there. Just go back there and see the very first post. I was like
what was the topic?
My English was even worse than it is right now. And I was back in Italy when I started, and I was just back from Sydney, and when I started, I was like, okay, like I'm bored to go at conferences. Like we need something different, because it's way too boring, the same things all over again. I mean, we can use technology, we can use social to make things differently. So that I guess was the insight. But it's been quiet, very quiet for a few years before actually a lot of people realized the real impact of and event tech as such was born. So it took a while, of me basically talking to myself, essentially, no interaction whatsoever with anyone. A lot of friction, a lot of people saying you're crazy, this will never happen. That's natural and organic. So yeah, a lot of that. It was fun. So yeah, that's the story, I guess, of how it was born. Obviously, it wasn't my job. It hasn't been my job until probably 2010, 2011. So it took a good 3 or 4 years before it became a business. Now it's I keep getting the question, like when I say I run a blog, they ask me, okay, but what do you do? So I still get that a lot. But that's what I do. So blogs have evolved as well. We live in an era of content marketing where great companies such as Endless Entertainment have their own blog and their own content programs. We call them website, we call it content now, but what we're saying really is blogs. We're saying, the almost revolutionized the format of creating content for the web so much that it's the standard right now. Like whenever we think about producing content in a written form that sort of has multiple objectives rather than just entertain in a snap with a tweet or whatever, we think about blogs. That's what we do. I mean, if I have to search for something online other than a static website on Google, I will run into a piece of content that is structured in a blog format. So despite we keep Event Manager blog as our domain, we call ourselves EventMB because we've sort of grown outside of the blog just for blog's sake. We're a platform now. We're a website that includes a lot of content for the event industry in different formats, from webinars to video to blogs, blog posts. By the way, since we're here, please get rid of the blogs word, because it's a blog post. It's not a blog. It's one of my pet peeves. I would kill people for that. But yeah, other than that, that's the story, I guess, in a few words.
Awesome. And so, obviously starting 2004, humble beginnings of not really, is this going to be worth it? And like you said, it wasn't until 2010 that you finally started to get traction and it turned into a job. So can you talk a little bit about what was the traffic like in 2010? Like, how many monthly visitors were you getting?
Very depressed. No, I can't possibly remember, but it was a fraction of what we had.
Where are you at now?
I didn't have business objective in mind. It was really a passion, and it still is. But that's why I guess it's relevant for a lot of people, because we're really passionate about what we write about. We're not in the business of making favors to people. We really embrace since day one, even the people that write for us today. They really need to share their passion. Otherwise, they can go somewhere else. We like when I started it, I never had ads. I mean, after the first month, 2 months, 3 months, probably a year of running whatever Google ads, I realized, what, am I going to make like $20 a month? I mean, is it going to help me? Not really. So I'm going to focus on content and just creating a platform. We'll see where it goes. And so I'll focus on that. So I had no ads whatsoever. So I wasn't, measuring traffic. I wasn't looking at.
You probably didn't even have a Google Analytics account even set up. You had no idea.
I did have analytics. I am a control freak after all, as all the event planners are. So I wanted to know, still, like, the performance with myself is quite of interest. I'm always being fascinated by, numbers and how some topics may sort of echo with some audiences, and they may engage with some type of topics. So I've always had an eye for analytics and performance. I've always been driven by the response. That's something that a lot of people forget. They focus on what they like and what they want to achieve, not what the audience wants to read. So We're very driven by that. We're very data driven.
Well, definitely we'll be curious we'll ask that a little bit, like how you guys choose what to write about, because obviously, you guys are writing about bleeding edge stuff. Because I want people to know, because we've had conversations about it, because we both, manage two amazing pieces of, content centers like we're talking about, and I'm just always blown away, and I know you sometimes don't share publicly on what it is, but maybe just a round estimate. Where are you guys at as far as, what are you guys driving to the website now? I want people they have to know what the scale is that you're kind of doing things at now.
It's difficult to say, I'm becoming more and more paranoid about sharing this type of information.
That's okay.
All of a sudden, then you find it on someone else's media kit.
Yeah.
But anyway, probably I would say it's fair to say between 150 and 200,000 event planners every month read what we write. So,
individual event planners are coming to read your content. That's like a massive, that'd be like a San Diego Comic-Con happening every single month, coming to your event to learn about what you guys are doing. Just absolutely amazing.
We also have a big part of this since 2008 has been the LinkedIn group that we have with 350,000 event planners.
Which is insane.
That is the biggest community for event planners online in terms of gathering and size, which has changed and evolved a lot through the years thanks to the beautiful LinkedIn policy with groups. Sarcasm there if you haven't got it. But it is what it is. But it's still we use it probably to the best of our ability, what you can do with a LinkedIn group. We research the industry. We've done probably the largest research. We have 10,000 respondents to our research through the group in LinkedIn.
Wow.
And we've made that research available to all of the group every time. We haven't withheld any data whatsoever. We give it back to the community all the time. That's been at the center of a lot of initiatives that we've done through the years. So that has been instrumental to also the growth of what we've done. Although today probably, we we can be quite independent, I guess, in terms of a platform itself. Back in the days, we had a lot back from LinkedIn, so that's been a good tool for us to grow.
Awesome. And so obviously you guys are doing the surveys, you're constantly at conferences talking to people, but how do you guys decide, a lot of these articles I see come out and I'm like, man, I wish I had thought about that. Oh man, I didn't even know I need that. How do you guys decide what to write for everyone who reads?
Very, very few simple rules. First of all, I try to write what nobody writes about. So that's important for me. I believe that, in this industry, it's very, very easy for a lot of people to write about the same thing. So I believe in respecting the creativity of others. So if BizBash comes up with a very interesting point of view, I'm not going to write about the same thing. It's not fair towards their creativity. Respecting the fact that an editorial team came together to come up with a great idea and a great angle for people to think about. And I deeply respect that in every form. At the same stage, by the same token, I kind of expect the same respect, which I don't get most of the time, unfortunately, the same type of treatment. I take it as flattery, I guess. I guess I get a lot of flattery, but I try to do. I'm a big believer, and probably this we're going to put in the resources as well. I keep mentioning it. A book that I barely read, in the sense that during my MBA I didn't read it all, but I read a lot of the parts that were relevant to me, and almost I've obviously had the opportunity to read it again for the years. But when I read it, I almost was like, this makes so much sense, and I tried to apply it for the rest of my business career. Is the Blue Ocean Strategy. I mean, that's a recommended reading for everyone, really. And
awesome.
In a few words, it says, like, why should you fish where everybody's fishing? Just go somewhere else and open an ocean of fishes for yourself. Which is what I try to do. I try to talk about whatever is not that everyone is talking about, because it's frankly boring for the reader. I put myself in the reader's shoes a lot, and if I see 10 outlets talking about the same thing, it's just going to be whatever, who cares, I'll move on. While I'm attracted by very unique perspectives and very sort of different approaches to the event industry. The last thing we need in an industry that is basically repeating itself for the past 150 years, it's the repetition also in terms of media. We don't need that, because we need more I guess innovation, more inspiration for those that are creating events, not more conformity, because at the end of the day, we always complain that events are the same, formats are the same, and people don't embrace technology. The usual things that all the pundits say, including myself. But then we reflect it into media. Everybody's writing the same things. Everybody's right. So we should practice what we preach, I guess, and that's what we try to do. In terms of the process of writing, it's simple. I mean, we obviously have 10 years of data in terms of what event planners react to and what event planners like to see. So we're extremely data-driven type of publications. Putting the reader first, before the clients that advertise with us, before whoever, there's a lot of self-pleasing in this industry. There's a lot of, I interview you, so you interview me, but who cares? Who cares? Who cares about an interview about whatever? If it's out of place and it's not relevant, it's not going to give me a kick, and there's not value behind it. You know what I mean? So I've been out from the self-pleasing. I've been out from press releases. I've never published a press release in my life, I feel. Unless it was sent by, I don't know, probably Twitter or Facebook for something like super exciting about events, that sort of thing, where there was genuinely some level of excitement. So I've never, I get pitched 4, 5, 6 times a day by whoever, they keep sending me pitches, and I'm like, sorry, cannot help you. So that's I guess what makes the difference. We don't try to please ourselves, we please the reader.
Awesome. You brought up a good point about like people pitching you and asking to be writing, on the blog. And this is actually a question that came from the audience, and they are curious to know, if they were interested in writing on EventMB. You guys obviously are super legendary. They want to get their content in front of as many eyes as possible, and they want to be, seen on Event Manager blog. How would you recommend that someone who wants to contribute their expertise go about approaching someone like you, an editor, or someone like that, to be on their site?
Oh, it used to be easier in the past. We used to have a guest posts in the past, so we had a forum where you can go on a site and submit a guest post. We used to have like a team of contributors in the industry, but we kind of moved away from that, honestly. If you're really motivated about writing or you have like a great idea, you can always get in touch with me and I'll always discuss it with you. Like if you feel that urge to say something, you know what I mean? Almost like, probably make the worst parallel ever, but it's almost like you're about to throw up and you can't hold it. It's that type of feeling. When I see that feeling into people, like I want to say this and I want people to hear it, I've always given spaces to everyone. When it becomes like a business post because you've read somewhere that guest posting is good for your reputation, I'm not going to help you in your marketing plan. You know what I mean? Like I'm not there to support your marketing, whatever. So I moved away a little bit from that. We've internalized a lot of it. We've internalized a lot of the writers. So we have a close editorial team. Part of the reason why, unfortunately, was because a lot of competitors were going after the same people that were writing for us, all these nasty things. So I just, you see a lot of EventMB team now on the blog. There's a team of writers that we have that I keep in my little cave here in Las Vegas, where we all get together and write together. Obviously, you see there's some of the writers that have been around for a while, 2 or 3. But in general, now we have a team of people that will write for that. As I said, that doesn't mean that if you have something very urgent and relevant to say, I will always give space to that. You can always get in touch. But it has to be relevant and urgent. It has to be valuable for the reader. If you just want to, say something because you have to say it or because it has to promote your new gig, probably you will get a no. Unfortunately, I feel like I have to. I'm the gatekeeper between respecting the rights of my audience. So whenever I read something that it's meh, I kind of gonna go and say probably we won't publish it at this stage. So yeah, I have to say no to a lot of stuff these days.
When you're seeing that sort of as you would say, crappy content too. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you see it all over the web as well. Do you think there's any topics that you think that more of the events industry media needs to be covering? Like, what sort of topics do you feel like need to be covered right now that just are not getting paid attention to? Because obviously, there's the topics that everyone knows, and there's the promotional stuff that no one likes. But what sort of stuff do you think that there needs to be more stuff written on?
Well, first of all, it's an approach that needs to change. I mean, wherever there's content marketing, we recognize content marketing. I don't accept content marketing as being, content that is helpful and unbiased. I mean, it's content that serves a purpose, which is marketing a business. There's very few companies that, get it right and really detach themselves from the objective of being a business, and they all of a sudden create something that is extremely valuable for means of research, for means of originality, for means of extensive tutorials of guides, really detailed, incredible. I mean, if we're talking about lead magnets and all of that, it's so easy to spot. It's not even funny, and then you've given your data to get 10 slides with like 3 words each, and that's whatever they call it, a book. For me, I don't buy it, and so I try to do exactly the opposite of that. Or or at least I try to support whatever it's because it's not all about us and what we do. There's a lot of people doing great things. It's not just EventMB. So I support great content. I support the creative effort of sitting down and thinking about a problem and say, okay, how am I going to come up, with a good, interesting idea, not just, whatever, using BuzzSumo or whatever, HubSpot, and go to a manager blog and say, oh, what was the most popular article of the past 6 months? Let's write a variation of that so we can eat a little bit of SEO from Event Manager blog, which a lot of people do. So, it's a different approach. I respect the creative approach. I share the creative approach whenever I see it. So that's an approach. And then in terms of content, I believe that the meeting design element has so much need. Everybody jumps on event technology. Everybody jumps on whatever cool, what can we do with VR and how can we use smartphones and all that. But the meeting design process is and by the meeting design, I don't mean the core, I mean the concept of the event and how we do the event, the real content of the event. Changing that, stimulating that, it's what is missing right now because events have been the same forever. We need to change that a little bit. We need to spice up things a little bit more in terms of formats that engage our attendees more. So I would love to see more research. I mean, whenever there's a post about meeting design, try this new concept. They're the same 10 concepts from the past 15 years that we've seen all over again. So try something new, like go to events that do something new and do some reports about it. I'll be the first to read about it and to share it because there's so much need for that. So yeah, I guess that's one, but there's plenty more.
I love it. I love it. You've gotten obviously to meet a lot of awesome people. Being a legend and an icon in the events industry, you've got to interview an absolute massive amount of people. So everyone's kind of curious to know who are some of your favorite people you have ever interviewed during your amazing 10-year career that you've had?
Actually, I haven't interviewed that many, honestly. At the beginning, I was interviewing a few, but that's I think interviews for bloggers specifically. It's a very initial step in your blogging life. It signals a lot of insecurity, at least that I had at the time, in terms of not knowing almost what to say and what was my opinion. And almost like, I think as a blogger, there's a cathartic process of where you actually start to get your opinion by means of writing stuff. So while you start writing, you almost identify yourself with what you're writing, and then you almost get there and say, oh, this is what I think. And this is what I'll start pushing, and also it's a feedback mechanism with the reader. So at the beginning, yeah, I was interviewing a few. I interviewed, like, the best person I've ever interviewed was Harrison Owen, was the inventor of the open space technology, which is one of the most exciting still to date format for events and conferences. It's the basis of the Unconference and bar camps and all of that movement started from him. So I read his book and I was like, this guy is from another planet. I mean, they didn't have tech, they didn't have Twitter, they didn't have internet. They were like printing stuff. Like, if you read the book, it's amazing. Like,
what's the book called?
The Open Space Technology.
Awesome.
Open space technology.
Want to catch that interview? Was it like a video interview, or was it?
Oh no, it was a blog interview. It's still on the blog, yeah.
We will dig it up and post it in the show notes.
Very early time, but then I stopped. Then I remember, like, I was like doing something that a lot of early time bloggers do. So I'm sending my articles to people and say, this is what I write. To someone like important. I can't remember who was that. I was talking a lot about open source. I was really into open source and sort of applying open source to events and how could that, that could have changed the planning of the events, sort of collaborative planning of events. I've always been into that. And so I was trying to get into someone like and to get someone to share my articles, because I was pestering people to share my articles back in the days. That's what you do. And he replied to me, and I guess he made me think, and he said, yeah, I mean, it's nice, but you need to have an opinion. Like, what's your opinion about events? And I was like, all right, you got a point there. And then I started to sort of forge that opinion. And I've always been very, very opinionated ever since about events. I keep saying a lot of the same things I've been saying for 10 years. Thank God, I guess the industry doesn't change that much. So I can keep saying the same things all over again. But, yeah, no, I guess there's a lot of process into that. That the blogging helps to do. That's why I always recommend it as one of my most favorite content creation process, more than everything else. It's really exciting. So yeah.
Awesome. I do love that you mentioned like things like the open space technology, like again going back to like the meeting design and everything about that. I love that you're focused on that rather than the event technology, because like you said, everyone's covering technology and all these things like that. How can we do things a little bit differently and go back to like more concepts around event planning and meeting planning rather than, oh, here's this new app, here's this new cool thing, flash, flash, look at this, like, yay, Vegas lights. But
yeah. Which is exciting, event tech is exciting. Don't get me wrong, it's one of the most exciting things that happens to the event industry in the past 50 years. The availability of technology these days, it's probably, it's really one of the main drivers of change in the event industry, which is great, amazing. But that's not it. It's not where the problem starts, and it's not where the problems end. So we need a more holistic perspective if we're really interested in making better events.
Well, would you agree too that sometimes it seems like it's a distraction for our industry too? The newest, coolest thing just came out. Oh, I want to figure out a way to adopt that versus, okay, how can I integrate this as a whole, right? Like Brandt has this huge saying, it's like, look at the problem first, then adopt the technology. It's almost the same way in business, right? You like, oh, hey, there's this new app that allows me to get more productivity, Slack. Check it out, blah, 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 this and that. But then it's like, do I really need Slack? Do you kind of agree with that same mentality?
Yeah. Absolutely, and it's not a problem with the event industry at all. It's not a problem with event professionals. Actually, probably event professionals are more justified to have such mentality because they're so overwhelmed with things to think about that almost like, what can they do? Like literally these people, like, they have to deal with people threatening with terrorism their event. They have to threat about whatever centerpieces are cool in 2017. They have to take care of the speaker that is not showing up and the event app and the VR and whatever. So, I mean, you can't really expect the moon from them. But at the same time, I've seen a lot of people that for the years have embraced technology, and all of a sudden they were like, oh no, I'm never going to try this again. This was a complete failure. I've invested so much money, it was total shit. So, that type of experience usually comes from, a poorly planned sort of holistic perspective, as we were saying, on the event planning process and where technology adds value rather than being the ends. So that type of mentality is widespread. I can give you a great, easy example. Nobody wants to go through the pain. That's the thing. Nobody wants pain. Everybody wants quick solutions. It's easy, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what makes the difference between an average event planner and a successful event planner is how they can sustain pain. I believe, how they're ready to embrace pain, whatever that is, working long nights, working through the weekends, traveling, getting the incredible amount of stress, sitting down and understanding how the beat me, how the, whatever works, how event app works. They have to understand it. They have to go through the whole process. I'm sorry, there's no shortcut for that. You have to go through it and understanding and sustain the pain of understanding the whole scenario. I can make you a parallel. It's easy to, whatever, go on a fad diet. It's the same thing. You go on a fad diet, you shed a lot of weight, and all of a sudden you're getting back because you haven't changed the sort of underlying factor that may impact your health. It's the same thing. It's a very human nature type of behavior. It's nothing to do with events or the event industry. It's a very simple reaction, especially when we have little time and sort of we're not willing to go through the hustle. I was looking at an interview that I think Gary Vaynerchuk did at one of these events. It was explaining to. It's like he said, I had to forego the whole of my 20s to be where I am today. Like whatever you did in your 20s, you were out partying with your friends and getting smashed and drunk. I didn't do any of that because I was busy hustling to get where I am today. And that's exactly the same parallel that you can do with every aspect of event planning. Are you ready to embark the pain of going through all of the process of understanding what you're trying to achieve and all of that? Because if you're not ready for it, you're going to get problems. Sometimes it can go well, and sometimes you're really going to get quick wins. Sometimes you won't.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, it's about the long hustle rather than the short hustle for sure. You brought up a really good point about how a lot of times, again, there's the event planner is doing 15 million things at once, and they look for, like you said, the quick, easy things that you can kind of plug in, like event tech, and they kind of get distracted by it. Two, we had a really great question from the audience, and this is kind of a complex one, and I think it's related to you guys published an article, I think a couple weeks ago, that was like the top roles or top people you should have involved in your event planning process, and you had this concept of this idea of a meeting designer, I believe, as one of the roles. So the question they asked is, do you think that content curation and meeting design is something that traditional planners should be comfortable with doing, or do you feel like they should delegate it and have a separate person completely focused on meeting design, or do you think that that's always a skill that traditional event planners should have in their kind of toolbox?
Well, of course, in an ideal world, you would have a person dedicated to that. You would have a person dedicated to social media. You would have a person dedicated to whatever aspect of the event planner. That's in an ideal scenario. Of course, there are, big event companies that have meeting architects as a role. There's, the Kenneth Group, Rosa Garriga, I'm sure you had her on one of your shows. She's a meeting architect for them, and she does that, that's what she do. But not everybody is a large group that plans thousands of events a year. So, if you're in a smaller environment, you can still be relevant, because it's the denying of what we know that I don't like. Because as an event planner, you know what we're talking about here. Like, don't play dumb. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't try that, because you know exactly what we're talking about when we're saying about creating effective meetings and all of that. You know exactly what to do things better. It's just that probably you give a lot of excuses not to do it. You say that you don't have time, but the boss wants that, and we can find a number of excuses to do it. But what I'm saying today is that actually this is a much more relevant problem that we have today than we used to have 15 years ago, and the sort of outside environment is changing so much that it's sort of pushing this problem to become even a bigger problem. Because I can give you an example. Like 20 years ago, why you, Will Curran, would go to a conference in 1997? Why would you go there? What would be your first reason why you would go there? Let me ask you this question.
Well, I was 7 years old, so
right.
No,
of course.
If all those years ago, it would have been to connect with people, because back then the only way I would have really met people in person would have been that way. I mean, like to really meet people across the world or across the country.
Right, and probably would I say something stupid if I say that you would go there to hear what's new and what's cool?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Learn about something that probably you wouldn't know where to
Yeah,
get
definitely. Because
information.
if you wanted to find content back in the day, like you had to dig for it. It wasn't that it was just on every headline.
where would you find it? I mean, you would have to buy a magazine that was super specific, and still very, very
Now it's like
limited.
$20.
Would you go there to watch a speaker that you wanted to watch, like in person? Would you almost have like, I don't know, fanboy type of reactions, crying, with all of that emotion?
Absolutely.
That I would do the same. Like,
Yeah.
if you tell me like in 2001, whatever, if I'd go to a conference and watch Seth Godin, probably I would start crying. Like, I remember seeing Seth Godin in London in 2008, and Twitter had been around for 2 years. I remember that because I was tweeting from Seth Godin events, and we went to worldwide trending topic #1 on Twitter. It was that easy, like just an event with Seth Godin. And I had almost like, fandom type of reaction. I was like almost crying because of that impact of that. But, flash forward 10 years, 20 years from then, okay, if I want content, I can find it everywhere. We got the statistics, 90% of content available online has been created in the past 2 years. 2 years, which is crazy. So you can find content everywhere. Everybody's giving you reports. EventMB, we did like 4 reports in the last 6 months, about everything, research, all that, all available to you. Super targeted and narrow, on the most incredibly specific niche that you can imagine. It's there, and there's a lot. There's videos on YouTube where you can see all your speakers. Do I need to go and see Gary Vaynerchuk and pay $1,000 for it? Not really. I can go there and see hours and hours of him talking. Yeah, but he's going to say something different at that event. No, he won't. He will say the same thing all over again. If you watch the videos, he will. Eventually, everybody does. Nobody changes their speeches all that much. I mean, they try, but they don't. Eventually, they keep saying the same leitmotif. You don't expect a singer to do a new song at each concert he goes to. Right? You expect a little bit of variation of that same song. So you see it online, connecting, absolutely, live interaction, very important. But I can connect online, before we met in person, we almost knew each other for a long time. Like, we've been talking online for so long, following each other. It's almost like we know each other so well. So does that discount the existence of events? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's like they're more relevant than they have ever been, but they've changed the role. And meeting design is at the core of that, because you can't expect to plan events as the needs were the ones for 20 years ago. The needs are completely different today. I probably want to get to see connections that I already know from online and meet them offline. I probably expect a much more personal interaction with the speakers and with the content that is being presented. I want the content to be about me, not about the speaker. So how do you create events around that? How do you change your event concept to accommodate the new needs of attendees? That's the disconnect, and that's why I keep pushing on meeting design. I did a post on I think it was in January, and I did it on purpose. I used like a very clickbaity type of title just to attract people, but for good. Because I said the next biggest thing in events. I call it like that. The next biggest thing in events. Obviously, I know for a fact that hundreds of people will click and read. What is it? Oh, I don't know. I'm lost if you don't tell me. I said, I keep getting that question. Whenever I go to an event, like there's always a moderator who asks me, so what's the next biggest thing in an event? Like with your crystal ball, tell us what's the next biggest thing. Well, the next biggest thing is like the oldest probably thing that we have to still deal with, which is creating more exciting, more engaging, more real events, that do not betray the right of our attendees to be entertained, to be informed, educated, and to connect with others. We betray the rights of our attendees on a daily basis when we prioritize the needs of sponsors, the needs of speakers, the needs of the boss, whatever. You're betraying the rights of your attendees.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. So we have a lot of questions. Man,
Right.
people are blowing up. Best answer ever, says Anthony in the chat. So we have a ton of questions. So I think we're going to have to do kind of a lightning round on these. So I know this one you probably can go on for a little while on it, but we have someone in the audience ask.
Caught me. I talk a lot, so
No,
yeah,
you're good. You're
shut
good.
me down.
No, it's awesome. I love it. So someone wants to know, what does Julius think about this current state of industry associations?
All right. Next question. No, just kidding.
Next question. That's okay.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I believe like MPI, ILEA, PCMA, they're made of amazing people. Like I respect these people so much. Like the amount of work they do on a voluntary basis to put these events together, the passion that they put, the belief that they have in the industry, in the event industry as a family, in NACE as well. I've seen some great examples like I feel like a family sometimes. Like, I'm Italian. I feel like, I'm in a beautiful mafia. It's amazing to be like in a good version of mafia, right? It's great, but then there's a lot of things that frustrate me. I'm a member of all of them, okay? And periodically, I sort of keep telling myself, okay, I take it now as a charitable donation. Mm-hmm. I don't take it as an investment. So I'm donating this money of my fee. I understand it more since I moved to the US, because in the UK, it didn't make any sense whatsoever. But I understand a little bit more about how you see foundations and no-profits here and all of that. So I guess I kind of understand it a bit more. And so whenever I pay my membership fees, I feel it's money that I give for a good cause. And I don't expect nothing in return, because honestly, I don't get nothing in return. I don't get networking. Yeah, probably a little bit. I don't know. Probably it's me. I don't know. Probably I'm a media person, so probably I would get more from the media association or something else. Within the industry, there's very little I can do. What I don't get is, why do I have to pay a membership fee to pay for an annual event, to pay for a monthly event, to pay for a research, to pay for this, to pay for that, when all of that is available and for free?
On the internet.
Where else? Like, what is the proposition there? Why are you more special than Event Manager blog is? Tell me, because I want to hear it. Unless you have something really special. And
so what you're saying is we should start paying dues to Event Manager blog to be a part of it.
Oh, no, absolutely no. It will be free forever. That's been my number one frustration why I started the blog as well, because when I was a student in my MBA, I couldn't get access to research because I was a member. I didn't have the money to pay for membership dues, even for student membership dues. So I said, you know what, my mission number one with the blog would be to make sure that content and information is available to everyone. I got emails, like probably 5 to 10 emails a week from students thanking us for the amount of information that we make available to them.
I love it.
And it's free. It's there. You don't have to pay anything. You will never have to pay anything to get it. Never. I make the sponsors pay for it. So I make the sponsors pay for your right to get the content. That was my plan. It's always been my plan. I feel nervous whenever I have to put a price tag to anything that is related to content and information. So I believe association, but it's not me saying it. I have nothing against them. As I said, there's amazing initiatives such as the Search Foundation with ILEA. The work that they do with charity and supporting event professionals is amazing. So welcome. But then again, don't create multi-level marketing to sell me more, because I don't want that. Don't create, excuses with content that is just, average or favor to one of your founding members, sponsors, and you get these amazing booklets, monthly booklets, which is a complete advertising from page 1 to page 6 without any disclosure whatsoever, which is against the law, by the way. So, it's like you see a lot of these things, and I'm like, I have to pay for this? Like, where, I think my masochism ends at some stage. So I will have to stop doing that if the associations don't change. Besides that, the drive and motivation that these people have within the industry, it's remarkable and amazing. And I've met amazing people in PCMA, MPI, ILEA, great friends, people that have written on the blog. I'm going to MPI Cascadia in Oregon to speak at their event. They've been so kind to invite me. So, I really truly believe in the people. The concept behind it needs to evolve a little bit, but it's not them. Every association has the same issue.
I love it. They need to evolve a little bit. I like that I think everyone needs to evolve a little bit. So, all right, we got 2 more questions from the audience, and we're going to go into our last final 2 questions. So, and if you could pick, let's say, maybe a top 3, you're obviously an event icon. That's why we have you on here. So the audience wants to know, who do you consider icons of the events industry? Okay. You're like top 3.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I guess one that I look up to a lot is Corbin Ball, because we talk about the same topics a lot of time. He talks about event technology trends. I've been probably following his direction a lot of times, but he's been there for, he's been talking about event technology when the whole world was focusing about cupcakes. He was talking about holograms. He's been a true visionary in the industry. He's been supporting whatever I've done, which is amazingly, very kind and sharing and supporting my job. And there's not a lot of people that do that in the event industry. A lot of people immediately, as you come in, they see you as a threat. I feel so good with myself because I've had the opportunity to work with almost everyone. Everyone has written for us in one of our publications. If you had something to say about event technology, you've worked with us, from Liz King to Dahlia to a lot, you name it, Corbin, whoever has had a blog or a publication they've worked with, I've asked them to work with us. So I've never had problems of, who's my competitor? So no, you're my competitor. I need to mob you. So whoever has that attitude towards me, they have a special place in my heart. They really, I really kind of embrace it. And Corbin has been quite special. He's been really supportive, and I really truly admire his journey. Of being a visionary in the industry, supporting it. What else?
While you think about it, if anyone's interested in learning more about Corbin, Corbin's been on the show 3 times, I think now. So definitely we'll link in the show notes the links to his episodes. He's an absolutely awesome guy.
Yeah, no, and it's someone that we need to 100% respect, and then whatever he writes still amazingly relevant. He's one of the few that gets completely what the status is. He's a true event technology analyst. Completely understand the scenario, and such an inspiration, I guess, for those that talk about event tech. A pioneer, almost. That's the right word. He's been a pioneer for whatever we do these days.
Absolutely.
And others that I look at. Joanna Eisenstadt is someone that I look at very deeply, and I suggest you have her on the show as well. I recently interviewed her. She's one that is not afraid to tell you as it is. I fought with her. We've literally been shouting at each other by emails forever, insulting each other is almost. Mostly her insulting me, but it's we had that relation. But I appreciate her honesty and the willingness to don't compromise on anything and just advance the industry, the ethics on the industry. She's been vocal about problems that the industry have, and really pushing the envelope without caring about repercussion or their business, really caring for the community. So someone that I look up to and sort of inspires me in terms of not quitting and not caring about whatever people say, whatever pressure you get from sponsors or whatever. So not compromising is a great one. And I don't know. I mean, yeah. I guess I've met one that I met here in Vegas. I got to love, and it's Patty Shock. She's been the founder of ILEA, one of the co-founders of ILEA in Vegas here 20 years ago. Started from a living room in a house, and she founded the School of Hospitality at the University of Las Vegas. So the stories that she tells you about the industry, the passion, like the passion that these people have for the industry is what amazes me and really excites me. The kindness, the openness to embrace whoever is new. So yeah, that's the type of people that I look up to. They're all sort of CIC Hall of Leaders inductees, so they're all respectable people. But I can name others. I can name Jeff Hart, Dave Lutz, from Velvet Chainsaw. So personal reference for the blogging environment, and also on a personal level, they're supporting me on many things. So yeah, there's a few.
Awesome. I love it. All right, so I'm going to do this one in a yes or no answer for this one. Someone wants to know, do you feel that the role of the event manager is the same worldwide?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. I was hoping you weren't going to say no, because I was like, oh gosh, we're going to have to explain why. But yeah,
I can explain also why yes, but still I won't.
Yeah, awesome. All right, cool. So the last two questions that I have for you, we'll end on our last two, because I know you got big things to work on. What if you could pick one thing? What would be your one tip for event managers, event planners, and event managers today for making their planning process easier?
There's no one tip, and it's not going to be easy. It's never going to be easy. That's like it's like lose weight fast. It's almost like an oxymoron. It's not. Event planning and easy, they're not words that go together. So but knowledge is what makes the difference. If you know about things, you are going to have competitive advantage. So
Absolutely.
get yourself informed about whatever it's cool, whatever is new, whatever it's innovative, also whatever makes you think about the things you're doing, not just about the trendy, cool designs or the new Pantone color, but also about the more exciting things about planning events.
Awesome. I love it. I think to bring up a good point too, not just knowledge, but action on that same knowledge. I think I had a quote in one of my journals today where it said, hey, knowledge is great, but if you don't take action, it's just sitting there. Nothing happens, right? You can know how to create a great business, but you got to go out there and do it. So then we'll end on the last question that I have for you. You're a man of many resources. Read a lot of books, listened to a lot of podcasts, read a ton of blogs. I know you're just like me. What would be your top resources that you want to share with everyone? Whether it's books, new app, gadgets, anything cool that you've seen recently.
Three books that I've read recently. Well, two that I've read, and one that is coming out, I think in March. One is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, one of my favorite books of the year. Really core reading for everyone, especially for us event planners trying to please everyone all the time. This is like amazing required reading for life, so go for it. The second one is Grit, which is one that I got to read, and it tells a lot about how success is not necessarily a direct result of talent, but the willingness to strive and to achieve goals and to suffer, as we were saying, to go through the pain of achieving a goal. And the great thing about that book specifically is that there's so much research behind it that, finally it doesn't make you feel like a freak because you tried so hard for all of your life, especially for event plannings. And the third one,
Angela Duckworth book, right?
Angela Duckworth, yeah. And the last one is one that is coming out from Tony Robbins, Unshakable. That's more about money management, but anything from Tony Robbins, really, even on Netflix, I'm Not Your Guru, required viewing, very, very cool. I'm actually going to one of Tony Robbins' events in Los Angeles to see how it is. So definitely want to very inspiring, motivation without the fuzziness, really, really inspiring to make a change in your life. I love that.
Awesome. Well, I mean, speaking of inspiring, it has just been so awesome to have you on the show
Thanks for
today.
having me, Will, and congratulations for an amazing show. I mean, you're one of the few creating great content for the industry and really trying to make a change and showing other companies how content should be made and should be relevant. So keep crushing it, with all of your team, with Alex, with Laura. You're doing amazing. So yeah, keep doing that, and I'll keep supporting it.
Thank you. No, I mean, you're gonna make me cry. I'm so honored. Seriously, it's been just so awesome. I'm so glad we got to do a deep dive into your thought process around content and how you choose the topics you're doing and your thoughts around the industry. I mean, seriously, huge honor. I know the chat is absolutely blowing up with how excitement. Everyone's so excited to have you here. I'm sure Twitter's blowing up as well, and Alex just can't contain them. So we're just huge honor to have you. If you want to make some noise for Mr. Julius Solaris, I'll give you a big round of applause. Thank you so much, Julius. So we are out of here for the week. We got to get Julius out of here. So be sure to tune in next week, 5 p.m. Eastern, something like that on Wednesdays, something we do every week. Next week we are talking with Uber, a very controversial company right now, but they're talking about how did they move 33,000 people at the Waste Management Open this past weekend, and how do they manage transportation at these massive events. So definitely tune in next week for Hashtag Event Icons, and we will catch you guys all soon.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of Hashtag Event Icons. To catch the transcription and all of the resources mentioned, head to www.helloendless.com/blog. This week's episode will be posted and available by next Tuesday. Also, let us know what you thought about this week's episode. Share your biggest takeaway and join the Twitter conversation sponsored by Alex Plaxon and Little Bird Told Media. Just tag your post with Hashtag Event Icons. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on Hashtag Event Icons.